Hey everybody, welcome to RefTime, powered by RTS and produced by Coraggio Media. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Crane. We'll be covering rules, plays, points of emphasis, and all things official. Well, welcome back with us, Ricky. Pleasure to have you on the show.
Hey, Crane. Glad to be here, my man.
All right. You know, it was so it was hard to get you. Your busy schedule and your new profession.
Yep.
All right. Well, glad to have you. Hey, let's jump right into it. Welcome to RefTime and first quarter conversation.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into officiating?
Well, this is my second go-round because when I graduated from Edinboro University, I was licensed in 92, 93 by Clark Hamilton.
You know, ironically, I just spoke with him, told me you were going to be on the podcast, and he told me, he says, oh, this morning. He goes, yeah, Rick, he came through my class too. I said, yeah.
We just had Clark on last week.
Yep.
So.
Clark licensed me many years ago, and then family came into play, and I put it down, and then came back through you and Tanya.
So how long did you put it down? Because you came back through us in 2011?
11. Mm-hmm.
So your first time was 2002, 2003?
No, it was 92.
Oh, my goodness.
So how long did you ref the first time around?
3 years.
3 years?
So you put it down almost 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new one. I haven't heard that story before. So how was it coming back?
Different. Because back then, the official had to do the actual legwork, and we had to go through the school and actually had to go through the athletic directors. During the summertime, they would send you paper contracts out in the mail.
I remember those.
And that's how we got our games then. It was cool, and the athletic director had that relationship with the official. So fast forward, you get back into it, and we had this thing called assigners, and I think that has diminished the relationship between the official and the athletic director. I'm not saying that these ADs are getting lazy. I'm not saying that by any means. I just think that they have a lot on their plate. A lot of these schools have gone to especially like in football, they have gone to AstroTurf, and it takes a lot for the athletic director to organize that, and they really don't have time to reach out to us as officials to say, hey, I want you to do a game. So they just reach out to these assigners, and
just the way you said, assigners.
To these assigners, and what happens is that they assign us these games, and that was all brand new coming in the game 11 years ago.
Yeah, when you got the paper contract, sometimes they could issue those out,
5 or 6 years.
6, 7 years out
Yep.
in advance.
Yep.
And back when you got involved, it was only 2-person.
Yep.
So you came back to 3.
Yep.
You've come back to 3.
Come back to 3.
And even when you did 2-person, some of the things, the mechanics, the positioning changed because there were certain mechanics that we used to call, like we hear people all the time, over the back. That used to be a call.
Yep.
That is no longer anywhere in our rule book. There's no such call as an over the back call.
Right.
It is now that somebody has been pushed or someone has been held. And so those are a couple of differences. And now with the assigners, you can get assigned a game with another partner that you've never met before, where back in 92, 93, you could probably bring your partner with you.
And they do that now in football, because I officiate football, and I had the opportunity to get with a great mentor, and they do crews in football, and those crews travel from game 1 to game number 10. That's what they do. And in basketball, they don't have,
we used to do that in basketball.
Yeah.
We used to have crews.
Yeah.
2-person crews and 3-person, but like you said, it's changed so much. So do you, I got to put you on the spot since you do more than one sport.
Because you also do baseball,
And
correct?
softball, yeah.
And softball.
So you do 4 different sports.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to put you on the spot. Out of the 4, what's your favorite?
I have a love for basketball, obviously, because I played it and I officiated it, and
It's the best sport.
and I I coached it. I have a love for basketball, but I think this first year, I mean, even doing baseball, I love baseball, and
Did you play baseball?
I did not.
Not even Little League?
I
Or
played Little League.
Wildcat?
Yeah, that too.
Well, that was a long time ago, though.
But I picked up on that sport, and then I did my first year last year with football, and I'm like, wow, this is. So I'm on the fence now. I love
Oh, you love
basketball.
football
I
too.
love basketball, but basketball is really easy.
So question real quick, and then we're going to switch gears. Because Crane made a statement last night that he thinks that obviously in basketball there's a lot of running, right? So how much do you run in football? Is that a lot? Do you think in comparison to basketball, is there more running in football or more in basketball?
It's more in basketball.
That's what I thought.
It's more in basketball because your position, and once the play breaks your position, then another official picks it up.
Okay.
And so but it's more intricate in football. You have to know your stuff, certain rules, and the learning aspect, the learning curve in football is really, really cool and fun. And just to see a play, these kids coming at you, and they're trucking right at you, man, and you got to make a decision what the call is going to be. But like in basketball, it's really easy because I played it, and I'm officiating it. I coached it, so you know what you know. But when you
Plus, a major difference in basketball, I think, is you don't have to worry about getting out of the way as much.
not at all.
Not as much. You got to get
Not
out of
as
the way
much.
sometimes.
Yeah, you got to get out of the way.
But in football, you got to be aware of who's around you, because
Absolutely.
you could be standing in the middle of the play and you thinking you're out of the way. You see this guy coming in. You might look to your left and there's a guy coming in at lightning speed getting ready to take you out to get to
Absolutely.
it. And they're going to take you out to get to that.
Yes, they
Absolutely.
are. Yes, they are.
Well-
So let's change gears a little bit. We'll go into our second quarter here. So we were talking.
Second quarter.
So we were talking a little bit before we got started, and I had asked you what one of your pet peeves, as far as basketball, as far as a rule in basketball. What is one of your pet peeves? What is one of the things that kind of irks you, or that you kind of look for? Like Crane likes to call the
Carry dribble.
carry dribble.
Why does everybody put that on me?
Because
we're not putting
you
down.
put
It's
that
just
on you.
I was reffing with Shane.
You're doing so much better. That is true. You do
I was
so much
reffing
better.
a game with Shane. Was that
Salisbury.
Friday? Yeah, Shane Salisbury Friday night. We're gonna have him on too. And we're walking out of the locker room. I'm the R, and Shane goes, and he said it like the third time. How many carry dribbles you gonna get tonight? I said, Shane, I don't call carry dribbles as much anymore. I know you're gonna get one. How many? I don't want to hear that. How many?
So how many did you get?
I didn't call any. And then he said, I may call one. I was like, well, then why are you? See,
I called one.
you did.
I did.
Proud of you.
Yeah, not too long. I can't remember. I don't remember where I was, but I called it. So
I think that one of the biggest things are going to be is this thing called a Euro step, and these kids are really.
Because we
doing
didn't
it.
even know what the
We
Euro
didn't know
step
what a
was.
Euro step was.
I think the
It's-
first time somebody did one,
I call it travel.
you call it travel, because
Oh,
I was
absolutely.
like, that's ugly.
And
Yeah.
so it doesn't look right. It's you're shooting with the right hand wrong foot, or opposite is a drag foot here, and I'm like,
Now, do you call that if they drag the foot?
I don't.
You
I don't make a call because I know they did a Euro step.
I guess I do call if they do the Euro step, go this way and come back this way, and then drag that foot that they just lifted. I call it.
Okay.
yeah,
And-
because you're moving that pivot foot.
Yeah.
And so to
The
me,
pivot
that
foot
is
had
a-
made
that is a
contact with the
travel.
floor again,
yeah.
so I call it.
And I think that they need to put more emphasis on the rule on that.
I agree.
Of, of what that is. Can you drag? I mean, how have they adopted that move? Why did it come into high school basketball?
Because it filtered down from the NBA.
Yeah.
But the
So.
but as the rule stands, when they drag the pivot foot, it is a travel.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to explain it to a couple of coaches, and they say that's a Euro. I said it is. Well, why'd you? Because he drug his pivot, and they'll go, what's that got to do? I said, once the pivot is lifted, you can't put it back down on the floor. Now, I know they drag it to make it look, I guess, cute. I don't know. Or they drag it to throw off the defense. I don't know. But I call it.
I don't.
You don't?
It looks good. So I just,
Say it looks good.
And I think another thing that kind of gets me is the play in the post. That, the one-arm bar in the post defensively. I let those dudes play. I can't stand to see a sorry big man.
So when they're posting up,
Yep.
you're saying you let them have the armbar, and that's okay. But once they receive the ball,
they have to pull it.
They've got to take it off.
And I have a problem with that. And then
Wait, but I got to back up. So the armbar is legal
it is.
Until they receive the ball.
receive the ball.
And
Yes.
then you have to pull it.
They changed that rule.
Unless they're displacing them. Like they're not
Right.
able to extend the armbar.
But the
But
thing
they
is,
can have the armbar there.
but as bigs, we know that if somebody's got that armbar out, they're trying to displace you.
Right.
You don't have that armbar up just to feel a player. If you want to feel a player, you're like this. But if you're like this, you're trying to move him. So do you call that?
I don't, because the thing of it is, I look at it defensively and offensively. When he gets the pass in the paint and you have the arm bar up, I'm looking at this guy offensively backing him down, and I'm like, okay, well, we're going both ways with this because you're backing him down. You have the arm bar right there. To me, that's an instant no call. I'm not going to call that.
What's the rule?
I should have hit it. I should have hit it once he received the pass, and that arm bar is still there.
So what about girls? Because I noticed you're coming from a
girls.
boys' perspective.
Yeah.
What about in a girls' game?
It's totally different. Totally different.
How's it different?
How's it different?
The game is slower. It's slower, and they're more disciplined in the paint. On the entry pass, big girls usually go straight up in the air with it. Straight up vertical, hands straight up in the air, and they really don't arm bar. They more go with two hands. That's automatic right there with two hands.
Now,
Are you calling that in a boys'
Yeah.
game?
Listen, let's go to a.
No. I need to,
I will
because
call the two hands. I will call the two hands in the boys' game.
down in the paint.
In the
I
paint.
don't think so.
I will call.
She puts two hands on her down in the paint. You're gonna call it.
On the girls?
if she has the
Yes.
ball, it has to be that she has the
once
ball.
she has the ball, I'm hitting her with it with
Yeah.
two hands. Yeah.
But if she's two hands without the ball, do you call it?
What I'll do is I'll say something like "stay legal" or "keep it clean," and usually
I'm not calling two hands without the ball unless there's like holding or pushing. I'm
What's
not.
the rule?
What's the rule? The rule is you can't two hand.
Two hand is with the ball. That's on the
Are you
dribbler.
sure? I think
am
two.
sure.
You can't put two hands on a player. Period. I believe.
I believe that too.
Let's check the rule.
I
but-
think that you're.
All right.
And the reason I'm asking, and being playing
So while you
devil's
guys
advocate,
are talking here
gonna check the rule?
over our next 6-minute segment,
You
so we're
checking the
going
rule?
into the third quarter.
the reason I'm being
So-
playing devil's advocate, is because a lot of us as officials are accused of not being consistent,
Right.
by coaches and players, whomever, and that is one of those things where I ask, okay, what's the rule? Because we've asked other officials, how do you handle that? Everybody calls it differently. Is that okay? Is that fair? Is that the way we should be calling it?
I try to stay consistent all the way around.
With other officials or just
with-
with yourself?
Well, I have to be true to myself first,
Right.
and then hopefully that they see what I do, they'll pick up on it. Like for instance, I've officiated with great officials, yourself, Tanya, Payne, and I've adopted a lot from all of you guys. Like if I'm at the top, I'll tell defensive guards, one hand, stay legal. I'll talk to them. That's a James Payne thing. Okay. And one hand, hey, watch that hand. Two hands, bam, I got you right off the bat. Automatic. And see, I tell the coaches that way in the beginning of the game, during pregame. It's discretionary on my part about the one hand, but definitely if I see two, we're not going to have the conversation, period. So.
So you're one of those that tells the
those.
coaches what you're going to call prior to the game?
She's setting you up, Rick. Be
I
careful.
know I'm about to answer that. I
feel like you're in the corner?
I talk to the coaches. I talk to the coaches before, and I tell them, and I made a huge mistake over the summertime, and this is my story, that I told the coaches what I am looking for, and I gave them that, what I was looking for, but my partner didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that bit me bad.
Yeah.
It bit me bad in the game. It bit me bad because you guys were there evaluating me that day. And I was like,
on a scale from 1 to 10, what did you, 10 being the highest, what did you get from us? Did you get a 9?
I got a 9 from Tanya.
What did you get from me?
7.
I might
Anyway,
have to
moving
go back
on.
and evaluate that.
You might have to reevaluate that.
Because I would have dinged you from the first if I'd known you told the coach what you were going to call.
I tell them what I'm looking for, what I'm looking at.
You still do that?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Not anymore.
Because that do you do that in football?
No, because in football it's a whole different thing. You have referees and you have a white hat. They run the game.
Well, then what about in baseball? Because
Oh,
you get that
man.
strike zone. Do you tell the coaches what you're looking for?
I'm like, I
tell
don't
the
tell. I
pitchers?
tell them, I'm like, swing the bat.
Okay.
Swing the bat.
So you telling them
Gotta swing the
You
bat.
tell them I'm not gonna call anything.
Gotta swing.
If it's 12 feet high, you better swing
Gotta
it.
swing the bat.
That is messed up.
That is cold hearted.
Well, and I say that, about telling the coaches what you're going to call prior to the game because, that's not something. I mean, I've seen it bite people.
Mm-hmm.
You're when I'm working with somebody, I have another 2 partners or whatever, and the R is like, well, this is what we're going to be looking for, and I'm looking at him like,
That's not what I'm gonna be looking for.
Right.
Why are you telling the coach what we're going to be looking for prior to the game? That's like setting us up for failure. Because the minute that it happens and we don't have a whistle, we're going to have a coach all down us. And that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to, you got to get into the flow of the game. Figure out where the game is going to take you, not insert yourself and be like, oh, well, as soon as she touches her, I'm going to call this. Okay, but are you really going to do that every time?
Right.
No, you're not. I'm going to call all the travels. No, you're not.
Mm-mm.
We're human. We're going to miss things. We're going to let some things go because in 3rd grade basketball, how many travels could you call?
Well, you miss
girls.
things. I don't miss things.
You're right. So,
She
yeah.
misses things.
And I think too, another thing. I mean, interrupt you, Tanya, but I think another thing, Crane, to go back to, you ask a pet peeve.
Mm-hmm.
The older I get, the more
Mm-hmm.
intolerant I become with certain things.
Right.
I really don't, and it is what it is. I can't hide behind this statement, and I'm not going to. I really don't like AAU fans.
Yeah. Well.
I don't like AAU fans. I like AAU basketball because you get to see a wide variety of athletic kids, but I do not like AAU basketball fans.
Well, and we have to kind of water that down because you and I feel the same. It's not that we dislike the fans. It's just AAU basketball brings out some of the worst fans in the world.
It does.
So there are some AAU fans that don't have a right to be there.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, most people are they come and cheer for their team and they're fine. But AAU, man, that brings out. I mean, if you really want to know bad fans, do AAU
Right.
ball. And
Yeah.
in our class, we always tell people we're gonna get you into some AAU ball. We're gonna get you into some lower school ball, and we do that because I like to tell them we need to get you that alligator skin. And they look at us. As soon as you get exposed to AAU, you know what
with
we're
my
talking
height,
about.
with my height and age and my stature, I don't have problems with it.
Right.
But Sydney would. Sydney has, and
We all have.
yeah,
We've all had it.
to a degree.
Yeah.
But I'm able to like say things that a first year official couldn't say to him.
Right.
And then I look back on it and I'm like, why did that fan do that? Why did that fan walk off the court, across the court, to challenge me on something and get in an argument with me? I don't get it. And
Well, it
Wait.
goes back to what you're saying, though. It's got to do with veterans versus newer officials?
Yep.
I don't know, because you're a veteran official and you've had fans recently within the past couple of years that have felt like it's their duty to come across the court while you're sitting there relaxing in between games.
It happens, but it doesn't happen as much with a newer official, because newer officials, I mean, you can just kind of smell the newness on them. You can see it.
Yeah.
And as a fan, if you're going to be one of those kind of fans, you're going to go direct that at that person versus somebody like us.
Which
who are
again
more,
is why we're having a down, why we're having such a
contributes.
hard time finding officials.
it contributes.
And so when you have people that come out of the stands and are wanting to approach people that are learning, we all have to learn how to do a new job. You take a new job, you learn how to do that new job. Well, they have to learn, and when you have somebody that comes over and approaches them in a negative way, it makes them think, well, why do I want to continue to do this?
Right.
And so we lose them. I was just reading a post on Facebook recently. A young man, he's been officiating a very long time. He is a veteran official, but he had coaches and fans yelling at him this past weekend, and he was like, well, this is just dumb. Why am I out here when I've got people threatening my life?
Right.
They're out here saying, well, we'll meet you outside.
Right.
And this guy is 6'8". He's tall. He's huge. He's not a short guy. It's not like he's little, like 5'4" me. But you've got people that are approaching him, and then and so then on there, he's like, well, I'm just done. I'm done with it. I don't want to do this anymore. And reading some of the comments that were made, there was another official on there that was like, yep, that's why I quit doing AAU last year. So we're losing officials because of the chaos from fans.
Well, that falls back on commissioners, and that falls back on facilities that owns these buildings. They are allowing this stuff to happen.
Absolutely.
And see,
I agree.
And so what happens is, me, when I officiate an AAU game, and this is just the reality of it, and this is why I am so pro women, that a high profile basketball game, I'm officiating with a second year female official. I mean, they will run her to the ground, and you could just see as the game goes on, her spirit is just getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and she's like, and she's done. When at the end of the game, she's just spent because the fans have worked the hell out of her, and that's wrong. That's really wrong. And so, I'm once again, I'm just pro woman. I believe that there are some really good female officials out here. God knows I've seen Sid came up like that. It's some really good, just even in our association, I've seen some really good female officials that I just don't think that like I said, I'm not going to hide behind anything. I don't have to hide behind anything.
So what I hear you saying really is the men need to champion the women so we can get more women involved, because when they come into it, and if they get chewed up like that, they may not take it like a man, and then next thing you know, we're losing them and we can't keep women. That's a good point.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I agree with that.
And I think they need to be on the same playing field with us as men, because the thing of it is, if you look at the NFL, you have NFL female referees out there now. Mm-hmm. You have NBA in college females are doing boys side.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one reason we've had success in our the Hearn clan, Hearn crew as we call it, is because I've always championed her and Sydney. Mm-hmm. And I think if a new official, male or female, has a good mentor, meaning by good mentor I mean somebody who has their back, somebody who's going to help them go where they want to go. I think, and we've proven that in the school, which we're going to talk about now too, is if you have a good mentor, you have good people that care about your growth, you can grow. So I agree with everything you're saying on that. And that kind of transitions us into the fourth quarter, talking about, are we in the fourth quarter?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, talking about the the referee training school.
Mhm.
Because when we put that together, I think you were in the very first class.
Mm-hmm.
And that was back in 2011.
Mhm.
When we put that together, we were trying to champion people groups that didn't normally get a chance to officiate.
Mhm.
And all three of us represent the groups. So when we were doing that, and we've attracted a lot of other people, but when we were doing that, we were talking about all the experience the three of us have had, because Tanya had not a similar experience to yours, but she did come in first, and then she left officiating because of what you just described,
Mhm.
and her partner didn't come to her rescue.
Well,
And-
he didn't. I didn't need him to come to my rescue. I needed him to stay out of my business.
Mm.
I mean, you know, it was my call, you know, and he came from across the court to overturn a call that was not his call. And so he was just out of his jurisdiction, and it was humiliating, and I was like, well, I don't want to work with guys like that.
Right.
So
you stayed away from her for how many years?
well, I've been at it for 15 now, so, and I initially got in 97, and I only stayed in that year, I think, and then I was done, so.
So what other reasons, Ricky, do you think that officiating numbers are down across the nation in every sport besides fan stupidity? I guess there's easier things to call it, but from our perspective, it's usually fan stupidity. What are the reasons do you think that officiating numbers are down?
Well, it's a collection of things. I think COVID's taught us a lot.
Yeah,
And
it did.
COVID's taught us a lot, and I think that the older guys that has been officiating for a while, they got out of it because health reasons. And I think the state of Indiana didn't prepare for COVID. Okay, and I understand where I'm going with this because nobody knew that COVID was going to show her face. Okay, but if you look at the dynamics of all of this thing was, I think, predominantly dominated by the baby boomer generation. A lot of baby boomer officials were still out there. All of a sudden, they're like, hey, I want to take a break now. I want to get out of this. Now we don't have anybody to back them up with.
Right.
Okay, and so now they're scrambling. My folks would say scuffling. And they're scrambling, trying to find, and they're putting gimmicks out to, you come here and we'll officiate you through your association for free, or you come here and do this, and you just, and you don't have that. You don't have that quality of personnel, and then also the speed of the game has changed.
I've never heard, that's a very interesting way to look at it. I've never heard that perspective, is that the baby boomers saw an opportunity to get out of it, and they didn't. And we always say that, the older officials are not replacing ourselves.
Yep.
And so when we came up with the concept of referee training school, that's kind of what we were going after, is number one, inviting more groups in that don't normally get the opportunity, and number two, to provide a structured platform for people to be able to get it. Now we're looking at expanding the concept, and we're going to create online courses so we can get people from the outside of Fort Wayne.
Well, what we also did, though, we also changed our domain name to our website. So we've updated that. Our domain site is now called reftrainingschool.com.
Right.
Okay.
So
That'll be more generic for people
absolutely.
who can find us.
Yeah,
online.
so if somebody's looking for referee training, obviously they would type that in and that name would come up. So talk about your experience within just a few seconds, if you can, of going through referee training school from your perspective when you got back in 11 years ago.
It was needed. It was really needed. Because I felt, and it's just my own personal feelings, when you guys took us through the class and then we had to go out on the floor and then get floor training through RTS, was way, way different when we actually had to go and do an actual game.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I already knew the book end of it. I knew the game, but the rules of the game comes through the book. It doesn't come through playing. Yeah, you travel, you double dribble, all of this stuff. But when you have to figure out the dimensions, the north, south, east, west you ask a question to a ball player that has played ball since they were in the 6th grade, and you ask them a question, what are the dimensions of a court? They're like, they don't know.
Right.
And so you have to know the rules. And that's one thing that you guys did drill us on hard, that you need to know the book rule. And then also you need to know posture. You need to know, for myself being 6'8", I have to go straight up. And I have, even today, still sometimes don't go straight up with my arm. But y'all teach that kind of stuff, and you just need to know. I got dinged this summer by y'all. I made a call and I went like this, and Crane said, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Oh," pushed him. He said, "Rickey, that's not the mechanic." And so you guys are really sticklers on mechanics, because what happens is that separates you from this person and that person, and that's.
I want to correct you on one thing. I have to ding you on something.
Yeah.
You said you're 6'8". Now, I remember back in the day when you and I used to play, and I dunked on you on a regular basis, and you weren't 6'8" then, and you're not 6'8" now, Rickey. I don't dunk on 6'8"ers. I think I dunk on 6'7"s.
Well, listen. Can you please let's put an end to this story about this dunk thing? Because every time you see me, we talk about this dunk thing. Can you please let's talk?
I think we need to move on to another topic.
So to wrap it up. Yeah, we could be on this conversation for a while. So, but to wrap it up, we appreciate you coming out here, Rick.
Yep.
We appreciate all the support that you've given us over the last 11 years with Referee Training School. And we definitely, would love to have new people come through our class. So if anybody is interested, reftrainingschool.com, and you can get registered there. So.
All right. You have anything else that you want to share with us before you leave, Big Rick?
No, just I think that y'all are doing a hell of a job. You guys have pushed a lot of kids, a lot of officials through these programs.
We got a lot more.
And I see them, and I'm like,
way
wow.
to go.
Yeah.
Now, that is one thing before we go, because you and I had a conversation recently about the new, and I won't mention any names.
Let's go to somewhere else.
The new training that's coming about, that's available for young people for free. And I'm not going to mention the group's name. That's not necessary. But you called me up and gave me some interesting feedback that I'd never thought of about free training. What did you go back to it? What's your thing on that?
I just can't. Listen. I have talked to a lot of officials since then. Free costs, brother. Free costs. That's all I can tell you. Free costs. And let me tell you something. You do not learn that book, the rule book and the case book, in a week.
Yeah.
You don't learn that. It takes some time. And if that's what they want to do, listen, I'm not throwing shade on anybody. If that's what you want to do, do your thing.
And I can see why. They're just trying to get bodies on the floor. I get that.
Yep.
And maybe it'll help. We'll see. But I get, when I was talking to you and a couple other people that came through the school, you're going, yeah. And somebody hit me and said, well, Crane, think of it like this. We're trained. We know the rules. We're still learning, but we're familiar with the rules. And you put somebody out here who's green, doesn't really know what they're doing. That means we're going to have to put in time and a half to cover for their weaknesses, which will kind of cripple the game, which is what somebody else's.
It's the truth.
Well,
that's the truth. And you should be ashamed of yourself for doing that. I've said 4 times already, I'm not going to hide behind anything. You should be ashamed to do something like that just to put a body in that position. In my profession right now, they just don't put bodies in to do what I do.
Right.
Okay, you have to be trained.
Well trained.
And to do what I do, you just don't go there and like, well, here I am. No, and they don't put you out in my environment. They don't put you out there we just need somebody to do it. In basketball, in football and baseball and softball, you shouldn't do that.
I agree with you.
You shouldn't do that.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and sign off. And again, we appreciate you coming on board. And
Thank you,
we'll be
guys.
talking to you again soon.
I appreciate you
All right.
guys.
All right.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, guys.
Thanks again for listening to RefTime, powered by RefTrainingschool.com and Hoosier3on3.com. Produced by Coraggio Media, RefTime is recorded in WELT Studios in beautiful downtown Fort Wayne, Indiana.
To join RTS, visit RefTrainingschool.com. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until next time.